Hey, I'm LilatR, and this is ScreamFox64. The category that I'll be submitting is 2K%. It's a co-op run with Rack and I, and basically the point of the category is to get 2,000 points and finish the game as quickly as possible. That's pretty much a description of the category. So, there's a number of donation incentives that are possible for this run. Number one being right there, Kill Slippy, which is a separate run that's done after this, essentially you kill Slippy. There's a special modded version of the game specifically for that, and it is hilarious. If you want a demo of that, you can take a look at my SGDQ 2019 run. Second, there is what's going on right now known as ScreamFox64, where basically the characters just scream in terror the entire time. We've used a script to replace the dialogue. It's a GameShark code, but it does require the use of a expansion pack for the N64, so that is required for the run. There's also save kill the animals, and we could play on expert mode as well. This run is done on normal mode. Some runners do it on expert, some do it on normal. I kind of prefer to do it on normal mode. You don't get a lot of benefit out of playing on expert. It does make the run a fair bit more difficult. And in a marathon setting, it's not unsafe to play on expert mode, but it is definitely easier to play on normal mode. So it is a bit of a challenge if that is an incentive. So you'll see here, we're getting a lot of points. I didn't really explain this at all until right now. The goal behind what we're doing is we're trying to get 2,000 points as quickly as possible. So this game basically runs on like duct tape and paper clips. So you'll notice that everything that we shoot lags the hell out of the game. So we want to try and shoot as few things that lag the game as possible. But we're also trying to go fast, so we're trying to boost. And boosting does a number of things. It makes enemies spawn faster, and it makes them spawn closer together. So some of these groups of enemies, you'll end up having them crash into each other, which causes a lot of annoyances. But basically, we're trying to get a target score on each level so that we end up with 2,000 points at the very end of the run. So the target that I typically go for here is 220. The fact that I didn't hit 220 in this run, I ended up hitting 207, which is a fair bit lower, but that's not a huge deal because the score that I have there is a lot higher for this stage than it would be for every other stage. That's a lot harder of a mark to hit just because it's the first level of the run. In reset attempts, it makes it a lot easier. But yeah, you basically want to go through the stage as quickly as possible, and then kill the boss as quickly as possible. And that's pretty much it. There are collectibles in this game called medals. They do not matter. So the thing that you have to do to get medals is to get a certain number of points. In Corneria, it's 150. And save your... make sure that all 3 of your wingmates survive. However, if all 3 of your wingmates survive, there ends up being about a 4-second animation at the end of every level that shows like the medal showing up around the level. And you end up saving 24 seconds over the course of the run. Well, it's actually 23, but if you have your wingmates dead at the end of each level, it's surprisingly difficult to make sure that they die, especially in some levels. And you kind of have to route that into your run. So, the main ways we have of getting points, we have 3 different ways. Number 1 is through charged shots. Number 2 being through your regular lasers. That's how most people casually would do it. And then number 3 would be through bombs. So, charged shots are going to be definitely the best. Basically, you can exploit things like I just exploited a hitbox right there, where your splash damage from any charge shot that you shoot that hits the hitbox of an enemy, or of what's considered an enemy, will cause you to get an extra hit plus whatever. So in Corneria, you might have noticed that there were a bunch of mechs that were carrying around like girders and pushing buildings over. They have, for example, a hitbox kind of at the base. So if you shoot a charge shot next to the base, you get a hit plus 1 for that. Also, these little dudes here that show up, they have that hard shell, but you can hit their hitbox on the other side of the shell without damaging them a lot. So you can use that to get a bunch of extra points as well. Also, you saw there, shot the supply box and killed 3 enemies behind. And since, basically, if your shot directly impacts that enemy, you don't get the extra hit plus for it. But if it dies from the splash damage, you do. So you kind of want to try and aim as close to things without hitting them directly as possible. So like right there, I was able to get a hit plus 5 just because I aimed nearby. And then some of them it's very difficult to do. Typically, we're going to try and do that with unlocked charge shots, or cuss, if you hear anybody say that term. I don't usually say it. But that's the main way that we have of getting points. You can manually unlock your charge shots by holding Z and R at the same time. That's something the game never tells you and isn't written down anywhere. Someone just figured that out at one point, and that's kind of like the holy crap knowledge as soon as you realize it. Just like how the numbers in the top left aren't vertically aligned. 1, 4, and 4 all happen to be, but 5 is higher, 7's higher. See, 5 is higher than 1 and 0 there. Yeah, you can see, like, there's a lot of little things in this game. When someone pointed that out to me, I was so upset. So Meteo's a bit unique in that it's one of 2 stages that makes it not unique, that has a warp. So in this section here, we're going to be shooting unlocked charge shots at these groups of 8 moths while going through these 7 warp panels, and photosensitivity here, we would give a warning well beforehand. And you end up in a warp zone. So this is used to get, it's typically around 200 extra points. It's a lot. Yeah, so we want to make sure to get as many extra points as possible. While it is, in some cases, faster to go through a certain exit, sometimes it's not as lucrative for points. A good example of that is going to be in the 4th stage that we do, Sector X, where we're actually going to be going the faster route instead of the one that would give more points. There's a bunch of things to consider with that, such as just like pathing and all that, but yeah, Meteo just so happens to be both faster and better for points if you take the warp. So technically, the other stage, Sector X, is as well, but getting all of the points is nearly impossible in Sector X in comparison to how easy it is in Meteo. Because yeah, as you can see, like we've gotten like 150-ish since we entered this warp here, and it was with relative ease. And yes, I just did the DK rap. I know it's a disease that I have. I'm so sorry, but. So yeah, we're done with that. Meteo actually doesn't have a boss fight, and neither does this next stage. We're going for a goal of 400 in Meteo, so I've kind of caught up a little bit. And that's something to kind of keep track of, is who's, like, how far ahead are you, how far behind are you? And actually, with the co-op run that I was, that Rack and I are submitting, it's kind of on the fly. So whoever's better at getting points or doing a stage more quickly is gonna do that next stage. We're both very flexible with this game, so the plan essentially is to just kind of wing it is a bad term for it, but it's we're playing it by ear, I guess, is probably a better term. So I'm trying to kill Falco here. It's important to kill Falco and not Slippy or Peppy, because in the next stage, Slippy and Peppy both give you a bunch of extra points. Peppy especially. Peppy, I believe, gives you 26 extra points, as many as that. Slippy gives you an extra 4, but Falco gives you an extra 0. And you have to have one of your wingmates dead, because otherwise you'd get the metal like thing popping up on the screen. So, yeah, I would just get rid of Falco. It's kind of an obvious choice. But Katina here is a dogfight stage. Essentially, time equals points for this. So it's kind of weighing how quickly you want to finish this stage versus how many points do you get. I generally tend to play it quite safe, which is why this time, like, for this run is not absolutely the greatest. If I were to play it more risky, for sure I could finish this a lot faster, but I am, of the people who run this, like, the quickest for getting points in this stage on average, so, I mean, that's for sure a plus. So it would be very likely that I would be the one doing this stage should this get accepted, so yeah. But it's essentially a large dogfight stage. I typically, based on my score guidelines, aim for about 150 here. It's plus or minus about 80 for that, just kind of depending on how risky you want to play. If you want to go like full ham and go like all the way in, there's a skip that you can do called Katina skip, where this mothership has 4 hatches on the underside and will spawn as soon as you get 10 points at the start of the stage. You can basically do a bunch of loops into the ship, shoot bombs into it, kill all 4 hatches, and it spawns the core of the mothership like way earlier than you're supposed to, because you're supposed to just like do this whole giant dogfight stage, get the hatches to open by killing a bunch of enemies, and it saves about a minute and a half, because it also skips like a 30-second cutscene on top of being just so much faster than doing it the normal way. If you are going to try and do Katina skip, it's advised to probably make sure that you got a ton of extra points in the first 2 levels. It would be definitely pretty risky in terms of getting 2,000 points, but yeah. And 2,000 points also, I should state, that's not a low number of points. That's typically considered to be quite good in the score running community, but yeah, as you saw, the 4 hatches are gone. There's a core that appeared, and yeehaw, you did it. And apparently Bill is just very, very glad that we're on the same team, even though we accidentally did friendly fire on a bunch of his ships. So yeah, we're just gonna ignore that fact and just not read any of his dialogue and just assume that what he's saying is not passive-aggressive in any matter. So, by the way, cutscenes like these, very good times for donations, so that's a big plus. So yeah, that's a thing. I'm glad we're on the same team, Fox. I just love this. That's part of Scream Fox 64, by the way. It's not only the Star Fox lines got replaced, but it's also some of the members of Star Wolf. We were going to do Andros, but we kind of figured that it takes away from the experience of the game. Right here, we're doing the hardest thing in the run, which is changing stage. That is a joke, and that's also not really a joke. I've lost so many runs to not changing stage properly. There is a backup in case you do, but yeah. That strat right there for getting a bunch of points, which I did kind of correctly. That's one that I found. I call it the beef it strat, because you just beef it into the pillar, and then you go and you're perfectly lined up to get a bunch of extra points by just shooting charge shots directly forward. The first part of this stage is really, really hectic. There's a bomb that you can pick up right towards the start, and it's very important that you pick that up, especially for this section right here, because there's a bunch of mines that explode that are very, very difficult to shoot. Also, the thing about this level is that the platforms borderline exist, so half the time you try and shoot a charge shot at them, it just goes right on through. Actually, getting like ballpark 120 before the checkpoint here is actually very, very good. This stage is the one where I definitely want to make sure to pick up as much extra health as possible. And see, those 5 enemies there do not show up if Peppy is dead. So it's very important to make sure that he's alive. So right here, we're gonna go right but we're also gonna take the secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. Through the thingy. I don't know. There's a song there. I'm not really sure what it is, but there is one. I'm sure of it. So this is basically the shoot and get a ton of points section of this. There's not really too much to say. This is surprisingly difficult. There is kind of a rhythm to it, and as soon as you get out of rhythm, it makes it very, very difficult. Like there, where your charge shot goes through the platform and just kind of messes you up. I go for 270 on this stage. That's actually a very high score in comparison to like what a lot of other runners would go for. Because this and Katina are my two best stages in terms of score running. And there, I almost killed Peppy. Tried to. Peppy is the worst wingmate, by the way. I will die on that hill. Definitely worse than Slippy. And that butterfly, by the way, the one I just beefed it into and didn't even kill, that's the one that shows up if Slippy's alive. But since there's a bunch of background space crap here, you end up getting an extra minimum of 10 points. So I ended up with, I think it was exactly 270 on this. This last one is fairly easy to get an unlocked charge shot on, and I missed one anyways, so never mind. I was one short. There, that's the quick kill on that boss. There's another strat that you end up losing about 5 seconds, but it's way easier. The quick kill for this is incredibly difficult, and I highly recommend new runners don't go for it, because if you miss it, you lose, like, I think it's around 20 seconds. Yeah, it's really not worth going for unless you're confident you can get it every single time. So the next level is the train level. Anybody who's played this game more than once probably remembers the train level. I would argue it's probably the most iconic one in here. Actually, honestly, the most iconic levels of this game, we pretty much play all of them. So, for anybody who's played all the paths at least, like, there's a lot of people that like don't know that Aquas exists, but they've spent like 10 hours in this game because they've just never managed to get to Aquas. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but yeah, Macbeth is the train level. This is Macbeth. Fun fact, if you don't skip that cutscene, you spawn further back and you can save a bomb, and that is the one contribution to score running that I've made that was like actually like surprisingly very significant, even though it's only 2 points that it matters for. Also, this guy is just gonna say "gwa" over and over again. That was a mistake right there. I meant to actually bonk on that pillar and not like go right past it. So I ended up screwing up a bunch of points here. Macbeth is very difficult to get perfect. It's definitely not my best stage. Those mechs on the ground there, that little cart that's just chilling out there that Peppy pretty much just shot out from underneath me. So that's worth 5 points somehow. It's, as far as we can figure, it's 2 enemies, and you get a hit +2 from hitting it, and you get 5 points. But if you hit it too close, you get 3 points. But if you just shoot it with your, like, pea shooter, you get 1. So, I don't know. Nobody really understands what the hell is going on with that thing. But this hill here, as long as you don't boost, it basically, if you push straight forward on the stick, you will immediately hit the ground, and then you can get a bunch of unlocked charge shots here. Also, if you get on top of that track there, Slippy will get chased, and you can get points for an extra 2 enemies. It's kind of nice. The hard thing about this stage is A, you take so much damage, and B, there is a ton of lag, and a lot of things that you can spawn or despawn for very, very little reason. Like, right here, if you just boost in the wrong pattern, 2 of these 5 rocks just don't spawn. And I mean, you only saw 3 of them there, but yeah. The score I go for is 220 here. I don't think I really even came close to hitting it, but that's not a big deal because I got really, really high on Katina, so it's totally fine. And also, the thing is slowing down for points on any stage is a lot more hurtful than slowing down for points on the next stage, basically. The number of points per second you get in Area 6 is like twice that of any other level, except for maybe the Meteor Warp. Like, it's pretty equivalent to the Meteor Warp. Meteor Warp is very, very short. Area 6 is a fairly long level. We're doing specific things here to end up with a certain number of bombs. I believe that number is 2, which that's, I guess, not super, super specific. Well, I guess we need 2 as a minimum. And right now, so there's 2 options of killing this boss. You can either shoot out these 8 turret things, 8 markers. I don't know, what the hell does the game... switches. The game calls them switches, that's right. I would not call these switches, but whatever. I'm not a train conductor. I'm just more so distracted by him saying "whoa" over and over again. But yeah, so you can do that, or you can actually kill the boss. This boss is by far the hardest boss in the game, and it's not even close. This guy is actually kind of ridiculous. In the 100% speedrun, we do end up killing the boss because it actually saves about 40 seconds, because this cutscene is so long. Like, this cutscene's so long, I have gone to the bathroom and not lost any time. Actually, I think I did that in this run, now that I think about it. It is probably the coolest cutscene in the game. Like, knock on this as much as you want for it being like, oh, N64 graphics, and it's like 1.5 frames per second. But this looks cool, and I don't care what you say. Also, I'm pretty sure this cutscene's like 12 seconds shorter on Virtual Console on Switch, so that's a thing. We play on N64, honestly, because there's no console that emulates the N64 controller very well, and the Switch version plays okay. It's pretty decent, but it's not perfect. So it throws you off a little bit if you're very practiced at the N64 version. That, and like I feel like if any console's community of runners are purists, it's N64, because like N64 runners, I swear, like, refuse to play on anything other than original hardware, regardless of how much faster or slower it is. Like, I could probably bust out a sub 30 time if I play it on Virtual Console, but like, nah, don't bother. Which I believe the world record holder for this actually does play on Switch, so it would save probably about 2 minutes, which I believe is the difference between my time and the record. So, but the plus or minus in these runs is fairly low. So yeah. This is Area 6. I did mention probably the most number of points per second because we're already at like 80. Actually, I think it's more than 80. It's closer to 100. But yeah, there's a lot of basically just shoot things as fast as you can. And you really need to know the enemy patterns ahead of time, or else you're going to have a rough time. For reference, the highest score that we've gotten so far, I think, is 408 or 409 on Meteo. And, like, this, you get, like, 250 before the checkpoint, even while going fast. I've gotten, I think, 320 at the checkpoint was my highest, which is, like, pretty difficult. I think the task gets over 800 for this. It's kind of insane. So the first little bit of the stage is definitely the most points per second. This point at this seems the slowest, but this is for sure, like, if you are running and trying to speed run, this is the most difficult, and it's ridiculous because you're trying to shoot these satellites that take a bunch of different shots each, and for some reason I was shooting really, really slowly during this run. I normally mash way faster than this, but yeah, shoot those while these butterflies are showing up. So I'm trying to kill all the butterflies and shoot all of the satellites. So like, there's one, and there's one, and there's one, and I technically actually missed a butterfly there because when you kill one, the next will spawn after a certain amount of time, but they stop spawning at a certain point. And yeah, like, you can get as many as 4. I think on Expert you can get 7. Could be wrong. I've never even gotten close to getting all of them. The task would know. The task knows all. And yeah, you saw the numbers change color there. This stage, it actually doesn't matter if your wingmates are alive or not, because there's no transition screen to the world map after this. But yeah, you see, there's, what is it? I think it's 8 enemies on top of each one of these ships. Well, it's either 6, 7, or 8, depending on which ship. And then you can shoot those on top. And then the ships themselves are worth, like, what, 5? Well, sorry, 6. It's 1 plus hit plus 5. That came out weird. And then, yeah, like, you just get a ridiculous number of points. Like, and this right here, like, it seems like you're done. There's, like, 3 ships left. But just check out how many points that I get in between, like, the point, like, in between the supply box and now. Like, that was over 50. I think it was 52. And I missed things, too. But here, I think I got the absolute minimum number of points that you can get. That is kind of planned. There are backup points pretty much at any given point. And in terms of getting the correct number of points, this is very safe. Pretty much regardless of what we do, Rakanai is going to be doing Venom, and he does a strat against Starwolf where you can just sit there and basically, like, I guess grind points very quickly. It is allowed in runs. It's not like it's illegal. The task does this to grind 999 points. Typically when we're short, we're only short by less than 10. So it would take like 20 seconds at most. But yeah, it's definitely not the end of the world. And personally for me, I just killed him really fast because I'm mostly used to being a speedrunner. I'm speedrunner and then score runner. Definitely in that order. Rakanai is score runner and then speedrunner. And he's pretty evenly split. Like, he's very good score runner and he's a very good speedrunner. I believe his PB, I think, is somewhere 26 to 2700. Mine's around, I think mine's 2369. And that's using this route. I believe Rakanai's PB using this route's about 2400, so we're fairly close in terms of score on this one. But yeah, he does the hard route for overall score. But anyways, this boss, this is the photosensitivity boss. I didn't really even talk about it at all. It's the attack of the circles. And I didn't really talk about it because there's really nothing interesting to talk about with this boss. It's, as soon as the fight starts, it's a photosensitivity warning, and the photosensitivity warning ends here, because it's just flashing lights on and off. It is a little bit obnoxious, but it does give a bit of a time for, like, a dance party, which is always kind of fun. So yeah, we need 229 points, but oh no! Our goal is 220. What are we gonna do? Oh man, that's gonna be rough. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot a charge shot at Starwolf. And now I have enough points. So you get... Wow, one of them just flew right through the pillar. I didn't notice that before. I just love what we replaced their lines with, too. Because Andrew has just got another screaming line. But, yeah, so you get 51 from each of the members of Starwolf if you kill them quickly enough, which that's not really an issue for us. Oh, God. And then for Andros, you get... what is it? 11 for killing him, and then you get 6 for each of his 2 eyes. So that ends up with 227. So we needed 2 extra points. So I got 1 from a charge shot by shooting at them right at the start of the fight, and I got another one by getting Wolf behind me, hitting the brakes, and then shooting a charge shot at the ground while he's nearby. Starwolf has a shield that basically protects them from charge shots, and you can use that to basically infinitely get splash damage points off of them, because they will never take damage from charge shots, but they will always give hit pluses. There has been a very contentious debate over time to ban or allow that in score runs, and I believe what we determined was if somebody is doing it excessively, we will ban it. So, like, if somebody goes and just, like, breaks the record by, like, 600 by just going and spamming that. But I think in a run, the highest anyone's gotten is, like, 280 something like that. I know Rack and I has broken 300 number of times. I think he broke 400 one time. And then the task does 999. Apparently, if you get 999 and then you get more points on top of that, in this stage, you crash the game. But Brain Andros, you do a loop, you throw a bomb directly down, you turn around, you shoot him in the back of the brain, and then he's dead. Because if you shoot Andros in the fleshy part of the brain, he will always teleport directly behind you. That's the strat that the kids from back in the day don't know, and they will figure out soon.
Don't ever give up, my friend.
And this is kind of a photosensitivity warning as well, because there's a bunch of explosions going on in the background. I don't really know. It's kind of on the borderline, really. Because, like, it's no worse than, like, the tower escape sequence in Ocarina of Time. Which, actually, now that I think about it, it seems pretty similar to that, except you don't get, like, the boss B music playing and being a jam there. And you can also clip the camera very easily out of bounds here and see where the path actually leads. If you're able to see one of the dead-end paths, you'll notice it just kind of abruptly stops. And funny thing is, if you accidentally go down one of the dead-end paths, the game drops down to like 1 frame per second, and your death animation that normally takes like 2 seconds takes like 20. It's kind of ridiculous, but time ends when we gain control. We'll lose control at the end of the tunnel, and time. So yeah, that's 2K%. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you picked this for the marathon. Again, I'm going to list our donation incentives. There's going to be Kill Slippy, which is a separate run at the end of the run. There's Scream Fox. There's Expert Mode. We can also do Save and Kill the Animals, too, in Venom. Don't know if we'll submit that, but that is a thing we could also do. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And either way, we'll see you at SGDQ 2023. All right, bye-bye.